Hello and welcome, my dear friend. Imagine trying to judge the strength of a tree by the height of its first branch. If you only look at the surface, you'll miss the roots. That's what they did with you. They tried to measure you by what was visible, by your current circumstances, by the volume of your words, by how much you seemed to matter to the crowd. But what they didn't see was what God was doing underneath. You weren't being overlooked, you were being anchored. And anchoring takes time. It's not loud, it's not fast, it doesn't show off. It doesn't make headlines, but it holds everything when the winds come. That's why he let them underestimate you. Because if they had seen the truth too early, they would have tried to claim it, twist it, use it, build their names around your roots. Before you even had your own branches, if they had honored you too soon, you might have settled there. You might have stayed in places meant to be temporary. Somewhere inside you, you know that's true. So God kept it quiet, on purpose. At some point in your life, you probably noticed this pattern. People treated you like a placeholder, friendly enough to keep around, but not important enough to really see. They didn't ask how you were holding so much together. They didn't ask what it cost you to keep showing up. They just assumed, because you didn't fall apart in front of them, that you were fine. And God let them think that, not to punish you, but to build you without distraction. Because here's something sacred no one talks about. It's hard to stay honest with your own journey when too many eyes are on you too soon. God knew that. So instead of rushing your rise, he slowed your exposure. He let you grow while they ignored you. He let you develop while they bet on someone else. He let them laugh quietly because they had no idea what was forming. Sometimes God disguises strength as stillness and growth as invisibility. You looked like you were staying still, but inside, the architecture of your calling was being carved. And now, here you are. Not bitter, not broken, just heavier. Heavier in wisdom, heavier in clarity, heavier in presence. This is why you were underestimated. Not because you were lacking, but because you were covered. Covered while your capacity expanded. Covered while your discernment sharpened. Covered while your heart healed. God was writing a different kind of story with you, one that couldn't be rushed. And now that the covering is being lifted, it's jarring to those who thought they had you figured out. Because people love to define others based on early drafts. They met chapter 2 and assumed that was the whole story. But God knew how many pages were left. He knew the part was coming, where the one they called ordinary would carry something unmistakable. This isn't about payback. This isn't about walking in like you have something to prove. This is about walking in with nothing to hide. You don't need to explain where you've been. You don't need to correct the old narratives. You're not here to replay what was missed. You're here to live what's next. And what's next doesn't require their permission, only your agreement. Remember this: the roots you grew in private are strong enough to hold what's coming, and they run deeper than anyone guessed. You weren't built for popularity, you were built for permanence. And when people start to notice, when they whisper about the shift, when they suddenly remember your name, you won't need to react, because by then, you'll already be living in the part of the story they couldn't imagine for you. Not because you finally became enough, but because the timeline caught up with what God saw in you all along. There's a strange moment that happens when people start seeing what they couldn't see before. They shift their tone. They ask questions they never cared to ask. They suddenly remember how special you are. But you don't feel flattered. You feel quiet, calm in a way that almost surprises even you. Not because you're holding a grudge, but because the version of you they ignored still lives somewhere in your memory. You remember how they spoke when they thought you had nothing to offer, how they laughed without even realizing it was at your expense, how they watched you carry things alone and never thought to ask why. You're not bitter, but you remember, and so does God. He didn't step in to defend you, he didn't silence their assumptions or correct their shallow labels, because he wasn't just watching them, he was watching you, not to test your strength, but to show you how strong you already were, without needing the room to validate it. We're taught to expect fireworks when God moves, but more often than not, it begins as a quiet rearranging. No lightning bolt, no voice from the clouds, just a shift. One connection fades, a role dissolves, a space you once begged to be a part of suddenly feels too small to stretch your wings. At first it feels like rejection, but it's not. It's realignment. Because God doesn't build your life around comfort. He builds it around your assignment. And real callings often require you to outgrow places that once felt like home. And sometimes, God will allow you to be underestimated so thoroughly that even you start to question what you carry. That's when the most sacred transformation happens. You stop living for applause. You stop adjusting your truth to stay digestible. You stop waiting for clarity to come from others and start receiving it straight from Him. And that's what makes this shift so powerful. Not that people are finally seeing you, but that you no longer need them to. You've already crossed the line internally. This isn't about being seen now. This is about being ready now. Ready for the placement, not the performance. Ready for the real stage, the one that doesn't come with lights, but with weight. The kind of weight that comes from refinement, not attention, from endurance, not popularity. Because had they crowned you too early, you might have spent your life performing a role that looked impressive but drained your soul. You might have built something fast, but fragile. So God let you be skipped. He let them pick someone else. He let you walk home from rooms where your name was never called. Because He was building you for something that couldn't be handed to you by people who didn't even know what they were looking at. And now that something is unfolding. You'll walk into rooms that once overlooked you, but you won't walk in asking for anything. You'll walk in carrying something. And they'll feel it before they understand it. Some won't even have words for it. They'll just say, "There's something different about you," and they'll be right. Because it is different now. You're not in waiting mode, you're in arrival mode. But it's not loud, it's not for show. It's the kind of arrival that changes the atmosphere quietly, because it comes from alignment, not ambition. This is what happens when you outlast misunderstanding, when you stop defending the seed and start embodying the tree. You no longer panic when people misread you. You no longer rush to explain what's blooming in you. You just grow because you're supposed to. And the ones who thought you needed saving, they'll see you standing steady and grounded and realize you were never drowning. You were just deepening. They'll see that the quiet chapters weren't empty. They were layered. You were learning how to hold the oil, learning how to walk without leaking, learning how to hear God clearly in rooms that had too many voices. And now you're carrying something they can't name but can feel. That's why the atmosphere changes. Not because you demand attention, but because your presence tells the truth. You're not the underdog. You never were. You were just planted deeper than they could see. And the fruit that's coming now, it's not a reward. It's the natural result of a process you stayed faithful to. even when no one was cheering you on, even when the soil was dark, even when nothing made sense, even when God was quiet but never absent. You kept going, and now you're no longer in formation, you're in bloom. And what's ahead? It's not compensation, it's not revenge, it's not even proof. It's peace, it's rhythm, it's return. Not a return to your old self, but a return to the version of you that existed before you questioned it. And that version is walking out now, whole, unshaken, unmistakable. You don't have to announce it. You just have to keep walking. Because this time, when they see you, it won't be filtered through their bias. It'll be framed by God's timing, and you won't have to say a thing. The reveal will speak for itself. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. If this message resonated, please like, share,